All right, so let's look at subject of formula. Subject of formula. So if you're looking at this statement here, this is a formula of some sort. A is equal to 2b plus c, so that's a formula there. In this formula, if we look at the left-hand side and the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, we have one item which is isolated. So A is isolated, it's by itself. And then everything else is sitting on the other side. So the item that's isolated is what we call the subject. This is the subject of the formula, right? It means it's isolated, it's by itself, and everything else is on the other side, right? So that's what subject of formula means, right? So if I'm asked to make C the subject of the formula, it means I need to rearrange this formula so as to isolate C, right? In other words, move everything away from C so that C sits on its side by itself. If I'm asked to make B the subject of the formula, I'm doing the same thing. I have to rearrange the formula so that I isolate B. I move everything away from B, and B is left by itself on its own side, right? So let's look at how that can be done. Making C the subject of the formula. Here you have A is equal to 2B plus C. Now, subject of formula, right, is first of all respects the fact that this is an equation. The formula is actually an equation. So whatever adjustments you make, you have to make them obeying the laws of equations. And if you've done equations, you understand that when something moves across the equal sign, it has to do the opposite of what it was doing, right? So if we look at it here, if we want to isolate C, we must remove this 2b. We can move the 2b that side. It was a positive on this side. When it comes to the other side, it becomes a negative. So A minus 2b is equal to C. And as you can see, C is now isolated, so C is now subject of formula. It's done. That's all you're trying to do, right? Now, if we take the same formula and we're trying to make B the subject of the formula, you have to do this in stages. Don't try and move everything at once. That's the biggest mistake in subject of formula that I see students making, trying to move everything at once. You move one thing at a time. So the first thing we're going to do here to isolate B, we're going to first of all start off by removing the C. This was a plus C, it goes that side, becomes a minus C. So A minus C is equal to 2B. When I'm here now, I still have a 2 on this side, but the 2 is multiplying B, so to remove that, by laws of equations, I have to divide both sides by 2. So divide everything by 2 there. So the 2's are cancelled, then I can have A minus C over 2 is equal to B. As you can see, B is now isolated, B is now subject of formula, and that is now done. So that's the simplicity of subject of formula. So let's just try two examples to further illustrate this. This case, we want to make X the subject of the formula. You have Px plus C is equal to B plus dx. Now, interestingly, in this case, we have two x's. We have an x there, we have an x there. So when you have many of the same value, you need to collect on one side, right? So you'll have Px, take your plus dx, comes this side, becomes a minus dx. Then take C that side, solve B. This was a plus C, comes this side, becomes a minus C, right? So everything moved and it changed signs according to laws of equations. Now we have a situation here. We have x there and we have x there. Now you are not meant to have two x's. If you are making x the subject of the formula, you must isolate x, but there must be only one x. You should not have an x and another x elsewhere. Never have two of the same thing that you're trying to isolate or make subject. So what do I do here? To get one x, I factor out. I factor out x between these two, and I'll get x times p minus d is equal to b minus c. So I factored out my x. So now, to remove p minus d, This whole thing is multiplying x. So to remove something that's multiplying, you can only remove it one way, and that's the opposite of multiplication, which is division. I have to divide by p minus d. So this can be cancelled off by division. So x will be equal to b minus c over p minus d. So there I've isolated x and I've made x the subject of the formula. Let's try one more. Now, again, we have x, but we have denominators. I always try to remove denominators as much as possible, wherever possible. So we have a and b, and we have to look for a common multiple, right? Something that a and b can go into, which is simply a product of a and b, which is ab, right? A can go into AB, B can go into AB. So A into AB, A cancels off the A, I have a B, B times X, I get BX. B into AB, B cancels the B, I have A times X, I get AX. And then there's no denominator here, so I just multiply it. AB times C will give you A, B, and C. And when I'm here again, I have two x's. I have an x there, I have an x there. And I want to make x the subject of the formula. What do? I factor out because I do not want two x's. So I factor out x, I'll get x times b plus a. Now, if we look at this here, x is multiplying this. So the only way to remove b plus a, since it's multiplying x, is by division by b plus a. You can only remove what is multiplying by division. So this cancels off, and then you have x is equal to ABC over b plus a. So if you see here, x has been isolated, x has been made the subject, and all the way we were obeying the laws of equations.